Thank you.
Good morning, my name is Jenny, and the topic of the paper I'm going to present today is Assessing the Economic Value of a World Heritage Site and Willingness to Pay Determinants, a case of Chandyok Palace. Okay, this is the citation. The study was conducted by Kim, Wong, and Cho. It was published in 2007. Here's the content of my presentation. First is the introduction, followed by methodology, results, conclusion, and the final portion is my personal reflection. So the first part is introduction. As we all know, a cultural heritage is an inheritance of a nation, and more broadly, an inheritance of all human beings. So due to the significance of cultural heritage, United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization established a World Heritage List to encourage the identification, preservation, and protection of cultural and natural heritage around the world. And according to the list, there are three forms of assets. The first one is called cultural assets. They have significant historical values. And the natural assets are important to the history of Earth. And there's also a mixture of the two assets. And since 1995, 7 cultural assets and 1 natural asset in South Korea were included in the list. And let's take a look at this, the 8 assets in South Korea. Okay, the first one was designated as a natural asset in 2007. It's a volcanic island. Okay, as I mentioned, there were 7 cultural assets in South Korea. The first one is Rehearsal Temple. Second one is Jongmyo Shrine. It's a Confucian shrine. And the third one is Seogram Grotto and Bokusa Temple. And Hwaseong Fortress. Gocheon Hwasan and Ganhwa dolmen sites. Okay, dolmen sites are burial site markers. And Jeonju historic areas. And the study site in this research is called Chandyok Palace. It's located in the center of Seoul, the capital of South Korea. And the total area is around 580,000 square meters. And it was constructed in 1405. And it was built with minimal damage to the natural environment and was designed to harmonize with nature as much as possible. And in the year 2004, nearly 1/3 of the tourists were foreigners. So it's a representative attraction to foreign tourists. And the entrance price is $2.3 per adult and 1.2 per youth or soldier. Let's take a look at some of the pictures of Chandyok Palace. As you can see, it is immersed in the nature. However, the lack of subsidies from the government and insufficient revenue from the collection of park fees led to the postponement of restoration of extinct buildings, poor maintenance of facilities, deterioration of service quality, and insufficient publication of brochures for self-guided tours. And this could affect the satisfaction of the tourists who visit the site. Okay, according to Kim, Wong, and Cho in this research, most of the past studies have attempted evaluation of cultural heritage goods by asking residents their willingness to pay for taxes or donations. However, since cultural heritage is a key tourism resource, there is a need to identify the use value from user groups or the tourists. Okay, the method applied is called contingent valuation method, CVM. It's a survey-based economic technique for the valuation of non-market resources, such as environmental resources, water quality improvement, human health, etc. Okay, what the researchers do is develop a hypothetical market for the participants to make an economic decision. Okay, so during the process, a sample of the relevant population is asked to state their WTP. So the research objective is to investigate the use value of the world cultural heritage through this contingent valuation method. Okay, as for the questionnaire, detailed information about touristic and cultural value of Chandyok Palace was provided in the beginning of the questionnaire. And the questions are close-ended or dichotomous choice. Dichotomous means 2 choices, either yes or no. Let's look at an example. In return for using this traditional site, would you be willing to pay more than present admission prices and the participant will have to circle only one answer, yes or no. Okay, and then participants will be asked if they're willing to pay a certain price bid. Okay, and a pretest was conducted to decide on the 10 price bids. And the price bid ranged from 10 cents to $10 US dollars. Okay, and the pretest included 50 Korean adult visitors. Duration was a week, and the duration of the main survey was 2 weeks. However, the participants in the main survey was not mentioned in this paper. Okay, and two models, log linear and log logit models, were used to estimate the use value of the heritage site, and also to identify and compare WTP determinants. Here are some of the results. 57.7% were female, 59.2% were in their 20s, and 59.5% were residents in Seoul, and 27.7% had a monthly income of $2,000 to $3,000, and 32% were students, and 52.5% were university graduates. Okay, figure 1 presents the probability of a yes answer on the 10 price bids under hypothetical scenario. Okay, as you can see, the price offers, the units of the price offers are in won. Won is Korean dollars. 1,000 won is equal to $1 US. Okay, and you can see on the figure, the yes probability to WTP decreases with an increase of the price offer. And table 1 shows WTP determinants of the two models. Offer means price bids. So as you can see, price bids have a significant negative association with yes probability of WTP, as I mentioned in figure 1. Okay, and those who disagree with the level of current admission price showed a higher level of agreement on the given price bid. Okay, and the participants who agree on these three variables all have positive association with the yes probability of WTP.
So the final 3 is the positive relationship.
Yes.
Okay, agree and.
So the more they agree, the more they're willing to pay. Okay, and let's look at the income. Okay, income also have a positive association, indicating that the richer the tourists are, the higher level of agreement with the given price bid is. Okay, and the mean WTP values were calculated using this program. And the mean WTP values were $5.7 in log linear model and $6 in log logit model. And the aggregate use value were also calculated. And as we can see, the mean WTP values were much higher, at least 2.5 times higher than the current admission price. And the current admission price was $2.3. So it's at least 2.5 times higher, which suggests that respondents are willing to pay at least twice as much as the current price. Okay, and strategic behavior occurs when tourists are not willing to state a high WTP because they're afraid that the price will be increased once they state a higher WTP. However, the high level of WTP values in the result alleviate the worry of this behavior. Okay, since the mean WTP values were so much higher than the current admission price, this gives a rationale to raise admission prices. And the financial gain could be used to restore old buildings, undertake research on the site, renovate facilities or services, interpret visitors, promote the heritage site, and reinforce current or potential users' beliefs in the importance of cultural assets. Here's my personal reflection. As I mentioned earlier, the number of participants in the main survey was not mentioned, along with other information. So there's a lack of demographic data of participants. And there's also a lack of statistical data. For instance, in a paper, the researchers mentioned that the mean score of satisfaction is 4.86. However, they didn't state what the highest score was. So it raised a lot of confusion for me when I was reading the paper. And they also mentioned consistency with other researchers too often. It seems as if they were afraid to be different than the previous researchers, which I thought was unnecessary. Okay, thank you for your attention.
See.